Hello and welcome to the Knock on KCLR Sports weekly rugby podcast. Tom Crotty and Paddy Browne joined us on the podcast this week. James Blanchfield will be catching up with us again next week. But Kilkenny pretty much nearly wrapped up for the season. There's a couple of J2s and 3s and other bits and pieces going on. We'll catch up with James there anyway. Tom and Paddy, how's it going?
Well, Stephen, how are you doing?
Well, Stephen.
Not too bad. We're all happy. Yeah, it's lovely. Jesus, we're recording this on a Friday, folks, on the 20th of March, and it's absolutely beautiful out there. It's a sin to be sitting in. Lads, we're happy enough with the Six Nations, I think. Started off sour, and I think we all came away from it last weekend going, yeah, that was good. Happy days after all the doom and gloom after the France match.
Well, I think Bundy Aki's little thing on someone recorded him on Facebook looking at himself and Finlay Beam. Did you see it?
Yeah,
no.
Finlay Beam and Finlay Beam and Bundy were looking in the window of a shop in Dublin who had the televisions on, and they were watching the end of the match. And Bundy just turns around and says, "Fuck it." That was it.
I didn't see that. Away. No.
Someone recorded it. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Should look.
Well, now you after using an expletive live on KCLR, so there'll be more repercussions.
I will bleep it out. We'll get our people on it, so we will, Paddy.
Okay.
Yeah, no, happy enough. I think, lads, in general, like I didn't sort of buy into the negativity of the Irish team. I could sort of see what Andy was doing. I did predict the Scotland and England wins long before it happened. It just, I could sort of see what he was trying to do, giving lads runs and stuff like that. But people never sort of stand back sometimes and look at the bigger picture. But I think after that match last week, I'm quite positive about a lot of things, especially the players, the McCluskey's, the Balakoons. Where Balakoon is injured now, he's out for 3 months. He hurt his elbow, I think it was, but he played on. The Tommy O'Brien's, Jamie Osborne's, the prop situation and all that as well. It's a lot more positive. Like, there's a lot to take out of it, and that's good for the provinces now as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, as you said yourself there after the French match, overall looking back on it, it's a successful Six Nations. We turned things around because the autumn wasn't very hopeful either, and I have a feeling too that I could be wrong on this, but like Andy Farrell inherits a team in from the provinces, mainly Leinster, who were training under Nina Barr, and it takes a while for them to get out of that system and into a new system. And by the end of it, of course, they were playing extremely positive rugby like Leinster used to play a few years ago in the pre-Nina Barr era. So I just hope I'm wrong on that, because if I'm right, they'll go back to Leinster, be trying to get back to those tactics and negative play and defensive stuff for the rest of the season. And I just hope that isn't the case, because, against Scotland and England, they played beautiful rugby.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think better than England one nearly, Tom. Go ahead.
What?
I said the Scotland match nearly.
Murphy's work up in Ulster has really brought them on as well, which is brilliant to see. Like Ulster had feck all players on for the last couple of years, and it's great. It's great to see them starting to produce a few. And also, we know what like Murphy can do with young players, and I think he's starting to really bring through Ulster players which haven't had a chance in the last couple of years, and it's. You can see the difference in the way they play. There's a confidence about the Ulster players.
He's definitely working the article up there.
Even Nick Kimney, when he played, wasn't great. Like, Nick Kimney had a couple of chances before and sort of been wishy-washy. Had a half good performance, but this time he's playing well. What do you call him? The centre, McCluskey is
out of his skin, yeah.
And Balakoon, another one. And then to see the young fella, which we were all kind of a bit shocked with, the young fella coming from Connacht in the last, against Scotland, coming on against Scotland, who came into the fray. So, like there's young players starting to get a chance. And I think that's hugely important, because we don't have, for the last couple of years, you can't just, I keep saying this, you can't just have one province producing for a national team. It just does not work.
No, it doesn't work, no.
Like
It's
New
bad for
Zealand
the
will
province
have.
itself, and it's bad for the Irish team.
Yeah, well, if you take New Zealand for an example, like the Crusaders have won the Super Rugby for the last like so many times over the last number of years, and they have X amount of players on the New Zealand team, but they're not the whole squad. Every other team is producing. I know that they have a couple more teams, but every team is producing. So it's hugely important for Irish rugby that the 4 provinces are producing, and there's competition for places.
Absolutely. You know, it's like, he's done a great job bringing through 35 players there to play. It's phenomenal, really.
I think we're still weak at 9. That's the only like we have. Once you take Gibson Park out of it,
you're not sold on Craig.
No.
Wishy-washy.
I don't know. It just doesn't give you an air of confidence. Like when you know, like before you had when Murray was in form and other scrum halves, you had other scrum halves around, but there's just something missing. You know, when Murray was coming to the end of his career and Gibson Park was on first, and then Murray come on, and you know he closed out a game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I just kind of worried we don't have. Look, I know there's a lot of young scrum halves coming up, and it's probably a bit early for them. I know, like with the World Cup next year, that maybe it's a bit too early for them in their development, but I think it's probably one of our weakest
positions. It's good to see Doak getting a chance though, Tom. Doak has a hazard, I think, but he needs to get the exposure at that level.
But I think that I still think that's down to Richie Murphy, because he's changed the way they play and the way Doak is playing as well at scrum half. Yeah. So he's never had a chance because they weren't playing. I agree, he was boring. He was just, you know, just not an exciting player. And he's probably, the gas thing is I think someone said on statistics he's probably the best kicker in the country at the moment. Place kicker. Yeah. So, and we don't have to have a 10 kicking, you know. So if it did come into the fray, and if he was anyway a chance of making it, like, he can kick, and he's a big boot, you know. And I think Crowley played extremely well. Yeah. And I think Frawley did well when he came on as well, but I just, and might give Prendergast another bit of a chance to play and take the pressure off him. I've always said this, like, he's a good player. He is a good player. We're not taking that away from him, but until the day that his defence is strong and he can actually take the ball into contact. Now, I know Crowley probably takes it too much into contact at times and gets involved in stuff that he shouldn't be involved in. He's a bit Johnny Sexton-y that way. But I think the future is bright. You know, I honestly think it's a lot brighter than it was a couple of months ago.
Yeah, no, it's good that it was a bit unusual to see Sam not even on the squad for the last 2 matches, but like there's a bigger picture, as we were talking about, Tom. He was exposed to a lot of it. There was a bit of criticism as well, and everything. It's just going to make him more hungry. And like you said, he's got half the amount of caps that Crowley has. And look at how Crowley's come along, even in this Six Nations alone. Like,
he really needs a run of games in Leinster now, and he's starting tomorrow against Glasgow, which is good to see him. And that's where he has to consolidate his position now. Yeah,
I think Crowley's what do you call it? Control of the game is improving all the time as well. Like, his kicking was a bit shaky, we know that. But there are things you can work on. But just I think Crowley himself is getting more intelligent with backs play and everything. There was a couple of moves that I was watching Brian O'Driscoll break down from the Scotland match at the weekend, and it's just very, very smart stuff. You know, the space stuff and being aware of the Scotland defenders and where they are and who's pulled in, and knowing that there's going to be overlaps coming because the way they're lining up defensively. That's huge. And when you've got Gibson Park behind you as well, you've got 2 lads that are watching what's going on and working off each other as well, which is huge. So that's exciting as well. And it's good that Crowley's a very solid player as well. And that's why he was put in against England and Scotland in particular, because they were the crunch games. You know, the Wales game was grand, but there was a lot of experimentation there as well.
Yeah, well, I don't think they should have taken him last year. I don't think what happened last year should have happened because I don't think Prendergast should have been thrown in. Crowley was on form anyway. Like, if you looked at the way they played the year before and winning the games the previous season to change it last season, I don't. If Crowley had played a full season last season, you know, against the England, France, and those, I think he'd be a far better player this season.
Yeah, it was probably his provincial form, Tom, that probably let him down, and was probably what they were judging him off of. I'd say they're a bit shaky at times with or Munster last year, and even earlier this year.
Yeah, but that was the year that, like, if you take, I know Munster were like they have issues, their own issues, and they're not. Their pack isn't giving them the pack isn't giving them the platform to play off that he was, but he came from having a superb Six Nations and then going on to win the URC, getting the drop goal against Leinster, up on a high, and then getting dropped for the next Six Nations, which was a bit kind of mind-boggling. You know, it didn't make sense, and you can't, like, the amount of form you have coming pre-Christmas. Yes, you can't judge on how Munster are playing. Like, you're playing again with a pack that was going backwards, a team that wasn't playing well, and Crowley's on the back foot. But I guarantee he would have had a far better season if he was back in playing at 10.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, provinces are back out this weekend. Munster in South Africa. Leinster heading over to Glasgow. Really strong team. Hugo Keenan's named a fullback for that as well. So be interesting to see how all the boys get on. Even Jack Conan is named at number 6, I think, for Leinster. I think he's starting for Leinster. Yeah.
R.D. Snyman is in the second row. Yeah. It's a strong team on paper, but a lot of people who haven't been playing together. So it'll be interesting to see can they gel, because it looks like a very strong team on paper.
Yeah, a long old break that they have with the Six Nations and all that as well. Lovely, lads. We're going to turn our attention to more local matters, and we're sort of near the end of the season, so to speak. We're sort of in cup territory and end of the leagues and that sort of stuff, but there's still plenty of rugby to be played, as the lad says. We're going to start with you, Paddy. We're going to talk about the J1s and their situation at the league with the last couple of games and playoffs and that going on. You've got J2s in action as well this weekend, I think, and J3s. But we'll start with the women and the youths first, I suppose, and get them done.
Yeah, thanks, Stephen. We'll do that. We'll start with the youths, but there is a fair bit to mull over in terms of the combinations and permutations of the league. We had our last league match for the senior men last week, and I'll come to that later. So yeah, it's, as you say, it's certainly the business end of the season. The men's leagues are over. The women have one more match left to play, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. And for all the youth teams, they're at quarter-final and semi-final stages of the various cups, be it Leinster or South East. So so at the weekend, we are under 13 boys who had a breakout year after coming out of minis. They lost in the quarter-final of the McGowan Cup to a very strong Mullingar team, 35-14, but they're happy with their year because it's their first year in competitive rugby. The under-14 boys had a very good win over Carlow in the Leinster Plate, and they're now in the quarter-final of that. They won that 31-24. The under-14 girls, the Rhinos, had a great win over Greystones and puts them into the Leinster Cup semi-final. So that's to look forward to. The under-15 boys had a big win over Portlaoise, 42-31, and that's in the Macaulay Cup quarter-final, and they're now in the semi-final of that. The 16s had no match, or the 17s. The under-18 boys were in the final of the Leinster Premier League, and they've had a very good year, but they were just beaten at the death by a very strong Gorey team, 27-24. They still have the cup to look forward to, but they were just pipped at the post in the league. The under-18 girls lost out to Portlaoise, 43-31 in the Nolan Cups quarter-final. So they're all knockout games now from here on out, and there'll be there's a number of exciting games there to look forward to. Our ladies have a huge match tomorrow, Saturday at 5:00 in Tullow. They're playing Cooke, and that's a game that they need to win with a bonus point to have a chance of staying up. Their performances this year were better than, and it is a huge step up to Division 1 of the AIL and playing senior, and so it's a credit to the girls to keep at it and they're up for this match, and hopefully we'll get a good crowd out to see the cheer them on against Cooke. Cooke and themselves are both at the bottom of the table, so if they did win with a bonus point, they might be able to stay up in Division 1 of the AIL. The team lining out tomorrow is the front row is Grace Kelly, Katie Ann O'Neill and Nicola Kilcoyne. Second row, Alex O'Brien and Orla Hanlon. And the back row, Emma Lacey, Lana Brennan and Lauren Faulkner. Scrum half, Catherine Dempsey. Out half, Hillary Fitzgerald. Three quarters, Leah Browne, Chloe Farrell, Emma Carl and Leanne Savage, and fullback Sarah Rennick. And the substitutes are Anna O'Neill, Joanna Mahan, Courtney Kelly, Emma Byrne, Alana O'Donovan and Angela Viziano. So that's a huge game for our senior ladies tomorrow, 5 o'clock in the Black Gates. It'll be taking place after the Thirds Cup match. So just before I get to the senior men, then the other games at the weekend are, as you mentioned earlier, our Thirds are playing in the Cup tomorrow, Saturday, in Tullow against Navan, and one Sean O'Brien is apparently lining out for that. So he hasn't played much rugby, and he has been injured, but he still should be a pretty strong Thirds player. So that'll be interesting to see how he gets in that. They have a mixture. They haven't played. It's their first game, so it's very much a mixture of lads like that and Louis Kilcoyne and also some of the younger guys off the 18. So it's a mixed bag, but it'll be interesting to see how they go. It's not easy to go out and play against a settled team with a team that's cobbled together on the day. As you said, our seconds are in the Cup against Rathdrum at 3 o'clock on Sunday, and it's hard to know with Rathdrum what they're like, because they don't play in the Leinster leagues. They play in the Metropolitan leagues, and it's obviously their first team we would be playing against. So it's very hard to know what you're facing into going into Rathdrum, but they're generally reasonably strong at that level. That brings me to the men, and when we spoke last, we were recalling the Towns Cup. Round of 16, and we beat Kilkenny and Carlow beat Wicklow, and we got the questionable honour of hosting them in the quarter-final of the Cup, and that's now taking place tomorrow week. It's moved to the Saturday now, so just so people are aware of that. So it's on Saturday week in the Black Gates, but before I talk about that again, I just mentioned where we are in the league. We played our final league match last Sunday in against league leaders Byrne, and it was Byrne in the end ended up winning 35-17, but it was a game Tullow had to win. When we spoke before, Tullow had 2 games to play to get 3 points to make sure they stayed ahead of a tie, on the assumption that a tie would beat Wexford, which they duly did last Sunday down in Wexford. They hammered them in the end and got their bonus point, got their 5 points. So we were 2 points or 3 points ahead of a tie. So we knew we needed to get a few points. We went to Setonians and were heavily beaten. So it was all down to the Byrne match last Sunday. And we went up, and there was a gale favouring Tullow in the first half, and they really needed to get a score up, and they absolutely didn't. Byrne got 2 tries against that strong wind, and it looked very ominous at that stage that they got those 2 tries and converted one of them to be 12-0 up after about 15 minutes. Now, Tullow did get back into it, and Dara Cosgrave kicked 3 long-range penalties, one from deep inside the Tullow half. The wind was that strong, but he's a mighty boot, and so the halftime score was 12-9. But Tullow went very well in the second half then, and they got a try from Martin Cole, converted by Dara Cosgrave, and they actually were leading 16-12 going into, started 15 minutes into the second half, but Byrne were too strong for the rest of the match, and they scored 3 or 4 tries with the wind, and Julie won the match. Now, there was a lot at stake for them, because they could have been overtaken by either Tullamore or Setonians, and also the league title was at stake, and Julie did it on the day, and Julie consigned us to a playoff situation. So fair play to Byrne, and now they are they got the cup on the day, and was presented there on the day up in Drogheda last week, and now they're facing into round robin for possible promotion to the AIL. And that's brings into play where it leaves Tullow. Tullow came second from bottom, and as the case in that situation, we need to play the second from the top in Division 1B, and that's DLSP Palmerston. And so that match is taking place tomorrow in a neutral venue in Newbridge at 3:00 tomorrow, Saturday. We don't know what to expect with DLSP Palmerston. I was talking to Tom earlier and Carlow. Felt they had the beatings of them, and so we don't know. We're playing matches every week now, and I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. It's certainly that we're match fit, but we've carrying a few injuries. Like last week we were missing Stevie Smith, we were missing Jack McDonald, Corey Hughes, and Ryan O'Neill, and I don't know which of them will be back tomorrow. Jack McDonald won't be back, but hopefully Stevie Smith will be back. It's a strange situation. It's very strange because it's coming in the middle of that very important match against Byrne, and the following 6 days after, or 7 days after the big cup quarter final against Carlow. So and the conundrum is you're going to that match against DLSP Palmerston not knowing the significance of it, because the result only comes into play if a Leinster team wins the round robin and goes up into the AIL. It's looking very like Malahide will be coming down. So if Malahide come down and Byrne don't go up, tomorrow's match is a dead rubber. And it doesn't matter, even if Tullow win, they will still be relegated to Division 2. So it's a very strange backdrop heading into a match. And a lot depends, as we said there, on whether Byrne win the round robin. And they're playing very well, and they were very good last week. The other teams, they've Kilfeacle from Munster, and they have Ballina in Connacht and Enniskillen in Ulster. And we played Enniskillen in the All-Ireland Junior Cup last year, and they were excellent. So yet they weren't good enough to win the round robin last year, or the Ulster team wasn't. So it all depends on Byrne. You hear these rumours that Byrne don't want to go back up, but I wouldn't read too much into that. Some teams find the travel in the All Ireland League too much hassle, and the support isn't the same. Against that, again, I think they are restructuring the AIL next year, and the bottom division will be a north and a south, so that will reduce some of the travel for whoever goes up. So that's where we are. As I said, tomorrow, a big match against DLSP Palmerston in Newbridge, and strange one in that, as I said there, we don't know the implications of winning or losing until we see how Byrne do in the round robin for promotion to the AIL. Yeah, so that leaves us then with the cup match, the cup quarter final against Carlow Saturday week in Tullow. It was changed, as I said earlier, from the Sunday to the Saturday. And that'll be interesting we're so used to cup matches on a Sunday, it'll be a different experience. But anyway, that's where it is. Maybe too early to be making predictions, and it'll particularly having another match to be played tomorrow. Chatting to Tom earlier, they haven't had a match, and we've matches every week, and that can be good in terms of being match fit, but it also can be a problem if there's injuries. Leaving aside those two variables, I am afraid of Carlow. I think Carlow have the upper hand on us at the moment. I know we're a division higher, but they beat us in the South East Cup, and I think the momentum they've shown in beating Wicklow and in their last few league matches, beating Dundalk, the ultimate winners of that division. There's momentum with Carlow at the moment, which isn't with Tullow. I hate saying it because Tullow usually kind of rise themselves after Christmas and into this part of the season, but there isn't that buzz in Tullow at the moment. Now, if anything was to rise us, of course, it would be a cup match against Carlow in the Black Eights. But I'm concerned. But it'll be a great day out anyway, and we're looking forward to it. So that's, Stephen, where all things Tullow are at the moment. I suppose we really need to get behind our women tomorrow. Because having a team from down here in AIL it's huge, and it's very difficult the teams you come up against, but there is a chance of staying up. So yeah, that's it. That's all things Tullow, Stephen, for now.
Well, yeah, your fate is in your own. Well, it's not in your own hands, Paddy. But all you can concentrate is on the match in front of you and see how you get on against Byrne, and then go from there. Or not Byrne.
De La Salle Palmerston, yeah.
De La Salle, Jesus Christ, yeah, and gone back a week. Yeah, that's it. So all you can do is go up and win and see what happens. It was like the Ireland match last week. England nearly done us a favour, Who knows, Paddy?
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
It's a tricky one to work out, all right. When I was doing my notes here for the podcast, and that it's like going, Jesus, how is this going to go? But sure, best of luck anyway, Paddy, and hopefully it's good news talking to you next week.
Okay, thanks, Stephen.
The flip side of it is you'll be back with Tom and James next year if it doesn't.
Yeah, well, yeah. Unfortunately, it's looking that way, I think, at the moment. But that wouldn't be too bad either. As we always have a few great days out with Carlow and Kilkenny, and so that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world either.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
thanks
the bar takings will be up anyway. That's for definite. So I think from the financial side of things, definitely having Tullow back if we good for the bar, if nothing else.
Yeah, but the other issue, Tom, of course, is Saturday versus Sunday, because Division 1A is Saturday matches, and our lads were getting used to Saturday matches and being able to socialise on a Saturday night, and the crowd were as well. When we were up before, we got very small crowds on the Saturday matches, but that isn't the case for the last couple of years. Pete, the crowds are coming out on Saturdays, so reverting to Sunday matches, I don't know, Tom, how did you find it?
Pick up the phone, Paddy, and call us for a Saturday match.
Okay, that's the answer. It worked
well,
for the court.
We've tried to do as much as we could last year. We made a lot of phone calls pre-season. As soon as the fixtures came out, there was a lot of phone calls being made.
Okay.
On
well, that answers my question very clearly.
How many Saturday games we could have to keep the bar? Because I tell you one thing, and Paddy, you're right. We've noticed it this year, and you can't blame people. Like, lads will go out and they'll have a couple of pints and go home early on a Sunday. Whereas on Saturday night they're free, they can go out and have a few more, and the players hang around. We noticed the players didn't hang around half as long as they would have had last year. So from a financial point of view, the Saturday game is definitely way ahead of the Sunday, and you'll notice yourself. We're raging we don't have one in Carlow, the Town's Cup game, but moving it to the Saturday is probably the best thing, because from a bar point of view, and even for people being able to go out and have a few jars and enjoy the game and enjoy a bit of a night out afterwards, it's huge.
Yeah,
because if that's on Sunday, you're still talking people will still go home by 7 or 8 o'clock.
Yeah,
whereas, you'll get a far later bar, and you'll a lot more staying around on a Saturday. But look, we'll take that. I just want to wish you the best of luck anyway, Paddy, against De La Salle. As I said, they're a very beatable side. We messed up twice. We only lost by a point or two. So De La Salle are very they're beatable, and as I said to you when we were talking beforehand, they haven't played in a few weeks, so and that will takes a bit of the edge off. I know if you're not playing games, it takes a small bit of the edge off how you play, just to try. I know you get into the game fairly quick, but it just takes that edge off if you're playing on a regular basis. A week off is fine, but more than a week off, kind of, and it's even with ourselves, like, it's grand to have the rest, but too much of a break is no good either. And I will just want to wish the women the best of luck. It's very unfortunate. I have a daughter. It's very sad. She got injured. She was playing with dual status, and she had marked in her calendar she was aiming for the Cooke match to get a win.
All right,
she's devastated she can't play, but
she made an appearance there a few weeks ago, and I heard great reports of her, so fair play to her.
Yeah, sure. These things happen in sport, but I wish you the best of luck with the women. They're a good side. I watched them a couple of times this year, and in fairness to them, no matter what the score was, they left the field smiling, and that's a tough thing to do. I was watching one of the games and I came off and said, I have to say hats off to the women. They have a much better attitude than lads. When lads are getting hockey week in, week out, they turn around and throw the hat in, and they get all up in. They're giving out about this and giving out about that. But in fairness to you, I saw them, and I see our own crowd even when they lost. They're still smiling and laughing, and they're in the bar, and put it behind them, and they play again the same next week.
Absolutely true. Yeah.
Have a different attitude, and they'll still go out and push the rest of the say before, during the game, and they'll put in the hits, and they can switch on for the game, but they can switch off very quickly afterwards, which maybe some of our lads need to learn too when they lose.
Yeah.
Stop throwing the toys out the pram and just get on with it. So anyway, best of luck. We don't have a whole lot in Carlow. Our J2s are out against Longford in Longford tomorrow. It's a 6 o'clock game, so it's a bit of a late one for us getting back. But we've a good side going over. Very few, as I said, we have very few injuries. So, and they're on a bit of a high at the moment. So if they can play the way they played in the last game of the league, they have a good chance as any on it. Our J3s then are out on Sunday against Skerries. A mixture of old and young. There's a few young players on it. The Thurs have been playing all year, so never really the same team. Not quite the same team, and lads have been moved around position, but at least they're playing together, and they came the second or third in the league, in the Metro League. The last 1 or 2 games which they could have won, but that's the first time we played 3 teams in the club in a long time, and they did very well this season. They never missed the match, didn't concede a game. They played every single game, so hopefully the Thursday get a win on Sunday and be a bit of crack. Women have no game this week. They're out in their cup against Roscrea, and that'll be a tough one for them. It's down in Roscrea, and Roscrea are a division above, because when they got promoted last season, the division, it's 4, as now the cup is division 4 and 3, whereas last season it was 5 and 6. So it'll be that little bit tougher now on this one. But look, they're enjoying themselves, and hopefully they can go out and give it a rattle. And you never know, cup is cup. And then, as first as Paddy, I think went through the whole lot with the game in Tullow. I don't know about being. We're still considering ourselves the underdogs. I know we had a good win, the first win in a while in Tullow, but you're always a very strong cup side. So I think it should be a cracking game. By everything on paper. So for any neutrals as well, definitely head out to the back gates next Sunday or next Saturday at 3 o'clock, because I think it'll be a ding dong battle. It always is, and one team has to win and one team has to lose and move on. So we'll see what happens. Youth wise, wasn't a whole lot. Under 13s had a good win in the plate. Under 14s were unfortunate. They're a good little side. They played Dundalk in Dundalk in the cup, and they lost by 7 points. But that Dundalk team had rattled them with a few big scores in last season, and I think they've come on an awful lot, and I think they gave Dundalk a bit of a fright. I don't think they were expecting the team the way the lads have improved so much. So they're actually playing them in the league this weekend. They're playing them in their last league game, so it'll be a rematch, and it's in Carlow. So hopefully they'll get over that. 16s went out in the Scotty in the cup, and our 18s went out last week to Enniscorthy as well in the ding dong battle. The 18s, look, they're a good side, but I think I said before, they're very young. We'd only a couple of 18s left. Our actual 18s on it. There's an awful lot who just come up from under 16. So look, they got through the season and their season's finished now, so they should be a decent enough side next year. I have to say the lads who came up from under 16s did themselves proud, so hopefully they'll continue on next season and give it a rattle. And then the last thing I have is our under 15s are over in Glasgow on tour and are leading out Leinster tomorrow. So that's a big day.
Great experience for them.
We only found that out, that they're going to lead Leinster out. In Glasgow. I don't know how to wingle that one, but they're going to lead. They got in to lead them out tomorrow. So I'm delighted for them. It's a big day. They just went on tour. I don't know how they picked Glasgow, but they picked Glasgow, and they've managed to get in there and get in again with the team.
Very good. And just to remind people, Stephen and Tom knows this, I'm sure, that whoever does get through the big local derby tomorrow week will be in the semi-finals. And the semi-finals are a double header the following week. It's only a week after that in a tie, which has local interest as well. And they're on the Saturday in this occasion because Leinster have their big quarter-final against Edinburgh on the Sunday. So that'll be a huge day out in a tie with the two semi-finals of the Towns Cup.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that won't be easy because there's a tie will probably be still in it, and then I think the big one is between, correct me if I'm wrong, Dundalk and
Naas, is it?
Yes, Dundalk and Naas, and then it's Longford and Newbridge.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, they're the quarterfinals. Yeah, this weekend. Yeah,
as I said, Naas to me are dark horses. That's because they're a Towns Cup club. I know I want to win it. I know what Colin Murphy is the president, and he's a definite believer in Towns Cup. And I think the atmosphere last year in Naas kind of has given them an edge on because they're looking at their team. They're fairly strong, and I think the longer they stay in the tournament, I think they're definitely dark horses for a cup this year.
Yeah, and I mean, they beat Byrne in the last round, and Byrne were everybody's favourites for the cup, or one of their favourites anyway. So, they must be good.
No, I know Byrne rested. I looked at Byrne's team, and I know the league came first with them. People said they were injured and stuff. They weren't injured because they were all back playing the following week, and they were on the bench. Or weren't play. They were either on the bench or they weren't playing, and they were all back to play Tullow last week. So. Any rubbish that went out about injuries and that, I don't believe it. I think that, and being honest, I know we're a Towns Cup club, and as you eat, Paddy, at the moment. But I mean, if you're a chance of winning Division 1A, you're going to go for it.
Oh, you would, of course.
Towns Cup or no Towns Cup. So
yeah, they had a huge crowd. They had a huge crowd up last week, and the celebrations were reflecting exactly what you said.
Yeah. No, they wanted, and to be honest, I think they will want to go up. This thing of not wanting to go up is like, if you get the opportunity, you're going to go for it. I don't care whether it's Tullow or Carlow. If you win Division 1A, you're going to give it a rattle. You want to give it a rattle. You do, and you're right, Paddy. Division B, is it 2B? Is it all Division 2 are changed? Yes, division. There's going to be 1A and 1B, and that stays as normal. And I think the rest of the other three leagues are going into a north-south split.
That's the way I understand it too. Yeah.
Yeah. So for the likes of Byrne, they won't be travelling to Cork. They won't be travelling. First they'll have to go is maybe up top of north or wherever, Derry or somewhere. But they're not. I don't know who's in.
It's a lot easier than it was for sure.
Oh, hugely, and that's I think that was the problem. And I wouldn't be worried about going up anyway because the bottom few teams in Division 2C, I'd say from halfway up to halfway in Division 2C are no different than 1A.
Yeah, moved it.
Absolutely no difference than 1A. Maybe they play a little bit faster again, but there's no difference in the quality of player between a Division 1A junior club and a senior 2C club.
Absolutely.
That's it.
I'm just going to do the Kilkenny stuff really quick. They have J3s in the Anderson Cup, of course, on Sunday. That's at 3:00. They're against Dundalk. That's away at Mill Road. Their women are in action on Sunday as well against the Southeast Lions in Foulkstown. That's a home game for them. It's a top of the table clash with those. And just in some other news as well, the SETU men are in the Division 1 All-Ireland final next Wednesday in SETU in Carlow. Lots of local involvement there. John Farrell from Carlow is the head coach, and there's other Carlow players, as we were talking about earlier, involved. 7:30 kickoff against UCC on the main pitch. The ladies were beaten by the Cup favourite UCD last week, and that one is coached by Kiva Owens and Paddy Moss from Kilkenny. So best of luck to them during the week as well.
Yeah, that'll be actually, Stephen, I'd say anyone that's around on Wednesday night, that'll be a cracking game. I know there's a good few. There's Tullow have two very good back, or one forward and one back in that one. It's Eldar Cosgrave and Scott Manya. Both of those are playing, and Noah Cope from Carlow, scrum half, and the rest are all. There's an awful lot of Southeast players, so it's well worth going up. every year we've gone to the final, been in the final for the last couple of years, and I tell you, it's well worth watching. It's ball being thrown around. It's not this static, everything by the book. They're good games to watch. So if anyone has any bit of time on a Wednesday night, wants to go over and watch a match, it'd be well worth going over to watch it.
100%. So lads, we'll wrap it up there for the week. Go well this weekend, and we'll catch up with you next week and see where we sit and see where Tullow sit, or to staying up or going down. All will be revealed. Paddy Browne, Tom Crotty.
Okay, thank you, Stephen.
Next week, lads. Take care.
Thanks, lads. Take care.
Good luck.